Stellaris Dev Diary 190, From Slots to Districts, or as they call it, Leading Economic Indicators. What is this about? It's about a reform of the economic system of Stellaris, and it's a pretty big reform about the planet organization. You see here that you still have districts, but you have more types of districts here. That type is new, that is an industrial district. Then you have a lot less slots, and they are locked, but some of them are not locked. Quite a number of them are not. So what does this mean? There's a certain class of buildings that has been moved into districts, and that is the alloy factories and the consumer goods factories. What you get instead is these districts, and you can get factories here that improve the effectiveness of these districts. What else was done? As you can see, we have more districts, so the average size of planets was also increased as you need more districts in return. And then the number of slots was reduced logically, and the slots no longer are bound to certain population sizes. Same as the normal city districts, the industrial districts are treated as urban districts, not limited by the planetary features. But rather than the laborers that split their output from the original experiment they've decided to have the districts provide regular empires, one artisan and one metallurgist job. Gestalts have either 2 foundry drones or fabricators as appropriate. So this produces consumer goods and also alloys. As you can see, 3 alloys and in turn 6 consumer goods for a total number of 12 minerals, which is the normal conversion rate. It also gives you 2 housing. And of course, if you change one thing, then more things change. We have the upgraded and the normal factory buildings and foundry buildings that will add 2 jobs to the planet with a first tier building. But the upgraded version will add either 1 or 2 jobs of the appropriate type of alloys or consumer goods to each industrial district on the planet. Then we have Ecumenopoly. They have these exclusive districts. Well, they retain these. They can be boosted by the foundry of factory buildings. And the number of jobs per district on Ecumenopoly have been adjusted somewhat as part of an overall economic balance path. Since the industrial districts are also considered urban, you can have a planet with city and industrial districts that can be transformed into an Ecumenopolis when you go for the ecology project. Since you need many more districts, the average size of homeworlds has been increased by 2, and as an additional side effect, the Mastery of Nature Ascension perk may also become a little bit more desirable, as it gives you 2 more district space on your planet. The building slots no longer list the population kinds, as we've already said. They are opened up by increasing the infrastructure of the planet. This is done by building the city districts or their equivalent, or by upgrading the colony's capital building. But rather than having a certain infrastructure value tied to these, they're just unlocked by certain things. Like you unlock something when you go from the normal colony administration to the planetary administration. Something like this. So, 2 new technologies that unlock additional building slots have also been added, the Keramo Metal Infrastructure and the Durasteel Infrastructure. They represent the civilian adoption of military technology and as such require some government techs and the associated armor technologies. The adaptability tradition tree, for those that have it, still has a tech that grants a building slot as well. And as specialized and advanced worlds, the Ecumenopoly, ring worlds, hive worlds and machine worlds start with all of their building slots unlocked. So you have a lot of freedom there to build, which will, especially in ring worlds, lead to great advantages, I think. Then about the habitats. They are intended to feel a bit cramped. So while habitation modules do not open up building slots, the Voidborn Ascension perk will continue to grant 2 building slots to those that choose to embrace living in space. And then we've got branch offices. Branch offices, you still have the 4 slots. But how are these unlocked? By upgrades to the planet's capital building, no longer tied to the population or anything. Or the planet's owner taking the insider trading tradition. This insider trading tradition will give you an extra branch office building slot. It's the 4th slot, and it may grant you an office building, a branch office building, even on newly colonized worlds. If you think that's a viable way to spend your resources, you can just, bam, put it out there. So why did they do that? First, they wanted to untie population growth and buildings. So the AI and you also can pre-build a planet easier to varying degrees. You also don't have to wait for the last pop if you're on some kind of a building spree. And with a combination of both city districts and the capital building, it's a nice balance, of a felt balance of official and of rather free buildings that increase your infrastructure to unlock more building slots. And also, when you start, you already get a number of building slots that will make you able to start the planets faster. Like if you're set in a rather mature empire and want to expand your colonies, you can just go for the growth buildings first. If you think that's a great way to start, just pump population growth buildings into them as a start, and that's very fine. The other thing is that you split up planets even more into resource gathering planets and secondary resource producing planets, because the usual basic districts, for example mining, farms, things like that, they do not unlock so many slots. So these are rather underdeveloped worlds then, and the more developed worlds with more building slots will need more of the rather advanced districts, like the industrial ones or the city ones. They also think that this will make it easier for the AI to auto-build a planet if you give the sector AI a newly colonized planet. It will supposedly make the system easier so even the AI can understand it, and if that's the case and it is still fun, it looks like it's a sensible change, then we'll have an even greater Stellaris with a much more competent AI, which is of course always a joy to behold. Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel Can, signing out. See you soon, and happy gaming.